What a first year in business it has been for you.
My secret sauce is multiple income streams. 99% of what I've achieved this year has been inbound. You may go viral, you may have an influx of attention, but it's 5 minutes of fame and then it will disappear. I never ever get AI to write my post. I'm very opposed to doing that.
You've been able to 5x your speaker fees in just over 12 months, 5K upwards. How did you do that?
The level I got to was in front of Ben Francis at Gymshark. I got pulled last minute into the room and they were like, Ben wants to see your presentation, let's go.
I'm about to speak to Jo Bird. Now, you may recognize Jo because she's a creative, a brand consultant, TEDx speaker, and a speaker who commands a really reasonable amount of money. She's come from Gymshark, and over the last 12 months, she has now set up her own business. Welcome to Don't Work Harder, the business show brought to you by Atomic, and I'm your host, Suman Randhawa. This is the show where we teach you how you can take huge leaps in your business, not just by working harder, but by working braver. Jo, what a first year in business it has been for you.
I know.
Alongside working hard then, bearing in mind you said nearly all of it has been inbound. What is it then?
Yeah, my secret sauce is multiple income streams.
I'm such a fan of multiple income
Do not
streams.
put your eggs in one basket.
Okay.
I always thought I was going to be this brand consultant, creative director, and I have had that work.
Yeah.
But that work, the brands I work with are majority challenger brands because of my experience. So working at Gymshark, working at Lounge, they are challenger brands.
Could you tell us, for anybody who's not familiar with the term, what does challenger brands mean?
Yeah, so you're going to be sort of like a mid-sized business. You're going to have good cash flow. You're not going to be the Nikes of the world.
Okay.
You're not going to have, thousands of employees and be the obvious choice.
Yeah.
You're going to be the not obvious choice.
Is that what challenger means then?
Pretty
in
much.
that sense. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not the obvious choice.
Not the obvious choice.
So you're stealing some market share.
Possibly, but in your own way. You're more
Right.
niched.
So year one, we've got multiple revenue streams. We've hit some fantastic milestones. And you describe yourself as a challenger brand. What did that look like?
Yeah, so I would do the consulting, the creative direction. Just small businesses would come to me and work with me. So lovely brands like Hello Sunday, which is an SPF.
Yeah.
Sous Chef, which is an online food retailer, which is beautiful, amazing, but just not a household name.
Yeah.
And what they would often say to me is, we know we need to level up the brand because performance-wise, we're running ads and we're doing great work and we got revenue and customers, but we don't feel like people really know who we are.
Right.
And so what I do is I get to the core of who they are, because what's funny is when it's your own story, you can't see it.
Yeah.
It's misty. There's so many ideas and things you want to talk about, and it takes for somebody else to come in who is observant and can listen to cut through the noise and hold a mirror up and say, well, this is who you are.
What are people searching for when they find you, Jo?
Well, typically they will either search for a brand strategist.
Yep. I almost said that word. Yep.
Or a creative director.
And then I nearly said that word. Yeah.
I straddle both.
I see.
And it's very rare.
Okay.
Because I'm from a creative background, but I'm so strategic in my brain.
Okay.
So there's the typical creatives that are like, oh, we just want to do bold, risky, crazy work. And my brain is like, yeah, but why? And I'm always like, the why. And I cannot move forward until I understand why. And the reason for that is because if you just throw out noise, you actually cannot build long-term from that. You may have luck, you may go viral, you may have an influx of attention, but it's 5 minutes of fame and then it will disappear. So when you've got your why, everything becomes consistent. Everything over time becomes aligned, and your team know what they're building too.
What has been more challenging than you were expecting? Because we're talking about someone here, you've got almost six-figure audience, almost six-figure business in the first year. What was it that was harder than you were expecting?
The personal journey.
Yeah.
I thought I was resilient because when you work for someone else, I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people here know working for someone else, that's why we don't work for someone else anymore.
It's the reminder.
It's hard working for someone else. So I thought working for myself, money worries aside, oh, it'll be great. I get to call the shots. I get to decide, What I didn't realize is when I've attached to a business to me and to my name, every decision becomes a difficult decision because I'm very, very hot on my reputation and how people perceive me. When it's a business entity, like if it was a name different to mine, different logo, different whatever, I'd probably be a bit easier.
Yeah.
You know, stupid things like the logo, the design, you know, having people outsourcing to other people to run my social media. All of these things I would probably let go. I can't do it when it's my own. I've tried to onboard people and just be like, just not getting my tone of voice, or, oh no, it's not quite right, because it's me. So I think that personal journey of like taking everything on myself and trying to do it all myself, I've been burnt out. I mean, most of the summer I was like, ugh.
And I think that's really honest, isn't it? Because we talk like incredibly honest, because I think I managed 2 years before I started to burn out. But because we love what we're doing so much, particularly in those early years, particularly where there's a little bit of money that is just going to kind of like cover us for a few months, we can trick ourselves into thinking that I'm working all these hours because I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So what have you had to do to help manage the fact that it's very difficult to outsource at this stage?
Yep.
And you already have a reputation that you have managed, you have got yourself to that reputation. So what have you had to put in place?
Yep. I've had to do some real serious inner work and have a conversation with myself to say, Jo, does it actually matter if you don't post on LinkedIn this week?
I was going to ask you about how often you post in a second.
I have been posting every day, 5 days a week for well over 12 months. Prior to that, it was probably 4 days a week, but it's been pretty relentless. It's just become part of my life, my routine, I just don't know anything else now. So when you put yourself in that position, you feel like the world's going to collapse if you stop doing it, or your business is going to implode. And I forced myself. I took a week off LinkedIn in the summer and only one person noticed. And I was like, I think that says a lot, Jo. We can afford a week off. It's just little things like that to say, do you need to be running at 100% of the time? Or can you actually just relax this week and take it a bit easy and just give your brain time to free flow?
I mean, I think the theory sounds great. The practical, it can be very difficult. So for you, up until you were running your business, you weren't posting 5 times a week. We're going to take a short pause to hear from one of our sponsors. Sponsors help us make the best show possible. Don't Work Harder is sponsored by Constant Contact, the digital marketing platform built with small business owners in mind. With Constant Contact, you can grow your contacts list, send out more emails, organise social media and events, and simply get more done with their advanced automation tools. It's everything you need to grow your business, advance your automation, and attract more of the right customers all in one place. Visit constantcontact.com to get started. Up until you were running your business, you weren't posting 5 times a week.
I was towards the end, yeah.
Okay.
It didn't start off that way. I think I did like 2 posts a week, then it was slowly 3, then it was slowly 4. But gradually, yeah, it was 5 days a week before I went self-employed.
And what is your view now about what you need to deliver in order to support your business?
I need to migrate to another platform. I want to do more content.
Okay.
I want to reach more people. The inbound model works really well for me, for my personality, for the way I put myself forward, the fact I'm very transparent about my personal journey. People really respond to it. I can obviously increase my outreach, but I think if I was across more platforms, it just takes the pressure off that, because more people know who you are and where to find you. It's just a visibility game. It's that top of funnel, marketing tactic we always get taught for brand awareness. For me, the awareness piece is everything.
How are you going to incorporate that into your working week? What will that look like for you in order to protect yourself from burning out again?
I think the trick is you create in batch. So with my LinkedIn, I would always schedule in batch. Okay. So there's 5 posts a week, but I would do it on a weekend. And the problem with what I did was I was always talking about marketing campaigns. So I had to be relatively hot on it.
Yeah.
So sometimes in the week I'd switch a post because something new had come out and I'd have to pivot.
So how long does it take you, because there's some people that talk about creating content on the fly, right? And I know that works for a lot of people. So I'm quite curious to speak to someone who's a bit like me and plans. How long would it take you to create enough content for 5 days?
I will spend, I say on average, about 3 hours. And that's
quick.
I think it's quite a long time, because we're comparing.
See my content creation. Okay.
We're comparing me to people that have been doing it a long time that are now utilizing AI, and they're just bashing out posts because they're using those platforms. Work smarter, not harder. It's true. You can do that. I'm very opposed to doing that. The only reason I use AI is to sometimes help with my structuring of my post. If I've just gone blah, and I need help to reorganize it. I never ever get AI to write my posts. The thing is, on LinkedIn particularly, you can tell it's all become a sea of sameness. And so whilst there is efficiency there, and those people are still actually activating the algorithm and being seen and heard, for my strategy, which is brand equity, people knowing me, people connecting with me, that wouldn't do that job for me. I don't want 200,000 followers if majority of them actually don't care about who I am and want to work with me personally. I'd rather have a lower number, but know that lower number is like, we really love Joe. Like, the next time we need a brand consultant, it's Joe. We're going to advocate for Joe. I want that. I don't want the fame. It's not actually that important. It doesn't evidently convert if you don't nurture it in the right way.
At what point did you realize that your reach was something that you could monetize?
When I started getting B2B brand deals.
So what point, Joe, was it? Because how long have you been creating content?
I want to say about 5 years.
Okay. And at what point was that translating to brands coming to you and saying, actually, we'd like to partner with you?
I'd say it's mostly, the last 12 months.
Okay.
I think it's been a shift in the industry, understanding LinkedIn now. And understanding. When I started on LinkedIn, influencers on LinkedIn weren't really a thing. Yes, there were some people with big follower accounts. Businesses hadn't switched on to the fact they could utilize those people on that platform. I've been on that platform every day for 5 years, and it is the last 12 months or so that I've noticed more and more and more sponsored posts. Not everybody discloses them as well, which is a whole different conversation, but they're all happening. So when the first one, I'm trying to think, I can't remember who the first one was, but I remember trying to cost it up myself. They were saying how much to do a LinkedIn post for us. And I was like, where do I even begin?
Who knows?
I mean, I was trying to pull reference from the jobs I've had, because the brands I've worked for are very influencer marketing. So I was trying to work it out, strategically. I came up with a number. I obviously didn't ask anybody else who was doing it. I just came up with my own number. And then I've slowly, because my follower count goes up, I slowly ladder it up over time. But they do look at your stats and your performance and your audience and things like that too. But when I realized you could make money from that, I was like, whew, this opens the floodgates now. This is a significant income stream for me. And the months that I have low work for consulting or a long project, consulting can take well over a month. I get the same amount of money for one post, but they're paying for what I've built, but I've already built it.
So the first thing that I would like to know is what is it that they were looking for? Is it your numbers, or was it something about the content you were creating?
Businesses will look at your number first and foremost.
Okay. So reach and audience is important.
Absolutely. So if they're good at what they do, they will ask for evidence of your stats. So they will ask for, can we have details of your audience to make sure it's aligned? Because a big number doesn't mean it's the right customer for them. And your reach on your posts.
And what's your process when you're coming up with content? So because I actually think 3 hours for 5 posts is amazing. I may need to relook at what I'm doing. What happens? Do you sit yourself down, and then where are Joe's ideas?
So I still battle with this, but this is the first thing I do. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You should never be reinventing the wheel.
Okay.
You should never be starting from scratch. Right. You should really be looking at the last post you made and just doing a reframe on those posts, because your topic is your topic, your business is your business. That doesn't change. So why would your posts go off?
So when you're looking for ideas, you'll look at your data and your numbers to see how posts have done.
I'll mainly look at my posts and what I'm saying in my post. And yeah, if one has particularly resonated, I'm like, okay, let's talk about that again. For example, one that always works for me is I use a mechanic. It's a storytelling mechanic from shy girl to TEDx speaker. This mechanic of this was Joe before, this is Joe now, really resonates with people on many levels.
Connection as well, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
But they also like that I've done something cool. There's social proof wedged in there as well. And they like that I'm human. So it's just a really good, mechanic to use as a hook. And I've used that. I mean, if you were to backdate through my post, you'd see I've used that same hook multiple times. And then I've just redrafted the story and the key point.
So have you now that you've got to this certain level, and of course you'll still have goals and aspirations, you're still posting, as you said, you're building your business, you've completed year 1 now, have you?
Pretty much, yeah. November.
I remember seeing a post about it. So, as you are now thinking about how you're building, you've just launched your digital course. Do you ever experience your content now not doing so well?
Oh yeah,
really?
I had a post bomb today.
What does bomb look? What's your measure of bomb?
I mean, I think I got 50 likes on it, and I was fuming. I wasn't fuming. I was secretly fuming.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to do well. That's the funny thing about it.
Okay.
I know the formula for a strong post. Obviously, there's an element of luck, but I know the general formula. And I knew this one wouldn't particularly do that well because it was a 3-minute video.
Okay.
And my hook was pretty average, but it was a point I wanted to make.
Okay.
I just had this thing about this campaign and I had to say it. And so I'm fine with doing that. I don't need to go viral every day to feel good. Like, that is not what I need. And I think anybody that is chasing that, you're just going to be chasing your tail forever. Like, you can't. Going viral is a pattern interrupt. You can't pattern interrupt every single day. Otherwise it forms a new pattern.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm okay with once in a blue moon. Like, I did one last week about my course launch where I pretended I got engaged.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And I had a ring on.
It's finally happened.
It's finally happened.
Yeah.
And it was a photo of me like, oh my gosh. And actually the ring just said digital course now live. And that one got 2,000 likes. And I think it was a pattern interrupt because people are so used to, seeing people get engaged on LinkedIn thinking this isn't the place for that.
Yeah.
Whereas
It's
actually,
not Facebook. Yeah.
I made fun of it in a way.
Yeah.
So I like having fun with it. I like every now and then doing that kind of hard-hitting post, but you don't need to do that every day. You're going to exhaust yourself. And that's where people fall off the bandwagon.
Yeah. So you're not putting yourself under that pressure.
No, content is a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Content is let's just stay alive on the platform. Let's just stay there. And then we have our moments and then we go back down.
And that's where the consistency comes in. And I'd love to speak about your work as a speaker. You mentioned before about how you used to be, I don't know if you use the word shy, but certainly you talked about the fact that, you weren't always the loudest in the room. Yet I know that you're commanding, 5K upwards as a speaker. How did you go from somebody who was quite shy to becoming a speaker, TEDx speaker, and now a fantastic storyteller? Because I've watched enough of your clips. What were those steps and why did you want to do it?
So I didn't kind of put 2 and 2 together, but when you work in creative teams in businesses, you have to pitch a lot. You have to present your ideas a lot, even if it's in a small team. But actually the level I got to was in front of vice presidents, of the business, Ben Francis at Gymshark. I got pulled last minute into the room and they were like, Ben wants to see your presentation, let's go.
Wow.
So I was quite used to not only presenting, but presenting unprepared and also presenting ideas that were raw and unthought about, straight from the creative brainstorm. Just so many levels of like, oh my gosh, and being the only woman in the room a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So I was getting this boot camp at work that I didn't quite realize. And trust me, I was the girl, I would choke on my words in that room multiple times. I would go bright red. Yeah. I would get the rashy neck syndrome.
And that's just a nightmare when it's visual, isn't it?
It's so frustrating because even if you actually do believe in what you're presenting and you're like, no, I know this is good, it just looks like you're not convinced. And people feed off that energy. That's what I've learned about presenting. So long story short, I had my practice and I knew that to get good at my job, I would need to get good at holding a room and having conviction.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a local meetup group that I knew of, marketing meetup, and they invited me to do a talk there. And I was petrified. I thought, okay, it'd be good to take this out of my job.
Jo, did they get you from your content? Did they find you online?
Yes.
Okay.
So they knew about me, and they invited me. I think I had a couple of people in my network as well that knew them. And they invited me, and I did that talk, and I was nervous as hell. But actually from that, I got some nice compliments. And what I've learned is compliments create confidence. I know it sounds crazy, but you do feed off feedback. So when people started saying, oh, that was really valuable, or thanks for that, Jo, I was like, oh, maybe I'm okay at this. And then people would say, Jo, you come across really confident. And I'd be like, really? I'm a mess inside. So I was like, I must have something here that I don't realize, or maybe it's me that doesn't believe and everybody else is seeing good things. So I was like, I just need to keep going. So I kept going. I did local groups. I did podcasts. Some students from America that had no listeners invited me on the podcast. And I was like, yeah, sure.
And was it strategic?
It was throw myself in, because I know that speaking and selling ideas is going to be a key to the next level.
So you had a plan that you wanted to become, again, more visible.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm just going to take as many of these opportunities as I can.
Take them. Yeah. And so it wasn't too long after posting consistently on LinkedIn.
There's that word consistent again.
Consistent. Yeah. That the TEDx invite dropped in the inbox.
Again, incoming.
How
many years ago was that TEDx talk?
That was 2 years, maybe. Two and a half.
Only 2 years.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. It feels like forever.
So from that to the very first time you got paid.
Yeah, fun story.
Can you remember what you needed to do for that to happen?
I'm pretty sure that story is that it was not too long after being made redundant, and a lovely lady had seen, I posted about redundancy on my LinkedIn, and a lovely lady had seen it. I didn't know her. She'd seen it. She must have resonated with her. And she was freelancing at a business at that point, and they were planning an event, and they were lacking a speaker. And she put my name forward. I didn't know she was doing all this.
Yeah, but she'd been watching.
She put my name forward. And then she messaged me, hey, my boss is interested in speaking to you. We've got our annual conference. Would you be up for it? I was like, yeah. I mean, I'm now redundant. I'd love to make money from
I have time.
So I jump on the call with this guy, the owner of the company, and he was lovely, and it all seemed great. And he was like, so how much, Jo, for you to talk? And I wasn't used to this question, especially not on a call. So I went, it's, £200. And he looked at me and he was like, no. He said, Jo.
Did he?
We're going to pay you $1,000, and we're going to pay your travel, and we're going to pay your hotel, and you can come to our party as well afterwards. And I was like, oh, that's really kind. I was like, thank you. So I was in my apologetic era at that point. I was just like so grateful to be, even considered. And then after that point, I was like, oh, Jo, I think you need to take this a bit more seriously, because if you're costing yourself that low, you're actually just making yourself look bad.
And I think this is what I'm loving. We are literally like, that's why I'm like, oh, how many years ago was that? When was that? And pretty much everything you're saying is 12 months ago, 2 years ago, a few years ago. So you've been able to 5x your speaker fees in just over 12 months. Mm-hmm. How did you do that?
Because firstly, I realized I was actually pretty good.
Okay, yeah.
And just being the apologetic, down to earth woman that I am.
That.
Yeah, I didn't think I could step into that space and own it.
What did you do to help yourself feel really rather good about yourself?
I watch every single video back, scrutinize the hell out of it, which is a good thing to do when you're learning to speak. Yeah. But I also realized that I was doing a pretty good job, because I'd watch other videos, other speakers, not to play the comparison, but I'd be like, Jo, you hold your own in that room.
You do.
You're personable. You're good. You've got insights. Let's be fair. But I also got a speaker coach for a short time. She's much more the business of speaking. Mm-hmm. What I'm good at is self-awareness and knowing where my strengths are not. And the business of speaking was not a strength. So I actually got her help to look at what I was doing and to help me cost it. And she was the one that told me the going rate. So when I understood the going rate, she said, if you're not costing yourself in this area, you're just putting yourself out the mix, because people will think, well, why is she so cheap?
And again, isn't that interesting? Because actually, even when you don't price yourself enough, then immediately people think, oh, she's not experienced enough.
Devalues you completely.
And when you think about what makes you a valuable speaker? What elements is it that people are looking for when they're going to pay 5K upwards?
I think first and foremost, people do want good insights.
Yeah.
They do want the knowledge. They don't want a fraudster. And I've got the receipts.
Yeah.
And I always weave it into my talks. It's very important for me that people go away and they learn something tangible. I don't like being all fluff and no meat on the bone. But beyond the insights, I think it is the personality. And when I learned to just bring myself, like my actual self, to the talk. I know there's a persona. I do put the confident Joe on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've all got that.
But I will have a bit of fun. And what you've just mentioned about the ad lib, that's when I enjoy it the most.
Yeah.
But what it does teach you is it's 80% conviction and only 20% content. That's the lesson of improv.
I think that's a lesson of business.
Of life.
Right.
You know, people say fake it till you make it. It's not quite that. It's when you own the space and you deliver with that conviction, everyone believes what you say, and rightly so if you know what you're talking about. But if you're knowledgeable but you don't have the conviction and the fun, people won't pay attention. It's boring.
As we start to wrap up, Joe, very unfortunately, I've got one question I want to ask you about year one. Like, you know, we've touched on some of the things. You've got multiple revenue streams. You've just launched a digital course. You've got your consulting. Some real milestones have been hit. If you could change one thing, looking back, it's not that far to look, but over the last, 12 to 18 months of setting this all up, since you've gone solo, what would you change?
Trust yourself more.
And what would
100%.
that, what would that look like? And what would that have allowed you to do that you don't feel you've done?
I think, so starting out, I felt like an imposter to being an entrepreneur. I was like, I've always been the employee. I've always been told what to do. Everybody else knows how to do this and I don't. I need to seek help all the time. So people say, ask for help, ask for help. And I would get people offer help because I've got a big audience. So I'd get people, you know, speaking to me and offering me, you know, coaching for equity of my business and all sorts of things. And I'd entertain all these conversations because I'd be like, yeah, I need your help. I don't know what I'm doing. No, I've had a couple of hard lessons of things where I've spent money on people that have not delivered to my standard. Just so many elements where I look back now and think, Joe, you could have done that yourself. If you had just sat there and believed you can work that out, you just saved yourself some time. Yeah. And you just saved yourself some money. So I think maybe that's a me thing, or could be a lot of new entrepreneurs or business owners in general. You do know the answers. You are good enough. You just have to sit with yourself and believe that. It's asking for help is good, but not thinking you can't do it yourself.
So as we wrap up, I've got a bit of tradition here, which is the first thing is I'm going to give you 60 seconds, Joe. We've got something called the atomic clock. Okay. So this is a question that has been sent in where they get an idea of the types of people that we might be speaking to. So if I was to ask you this question, we've got 60 seconds to answer it. I would love to know what you would say. So
the
pressure. Okay. So imagine somebody comes to you and says, I only have 20 minutes a day for LinkedIn. What should I focus on? So they've opened the app, they've got 20 minutes. In 60 seconds, what would be the advice that you would give somebody?
Write 2 posts, get them scheduled for the week ahead. Write 1 post about you, what you do, your personality, something to do with you as a person. The second post about your industry or niche. Get them scheduled in 20 minutes. Spend 10 minutes on each. It's fine. Get the drafts done, get them scheduled.
And then once that's done, what do they need to do in the app? Do they just post and run?
Schedule them in, and then look, there's a lot of theory about sticking around for an hour, commenting on things. You could do a few comments. You can nurture relationships. Ultimately, you should be taking relationships offline anyway. But at the bare minimum, get the posts out, because I think my lesson is the visibility piece, and most people don't even do that. So just get it gone. Go. Someone's watching you. You just got to be in it to win it.
And I think that's great advice, is you do actually have to create the content in the first place. Thank you, Joe. Right. Okay. My last one for you. We'd love to know. So it's funny. We did drop this, but by popular request, it's come back. I would love to know, what are you reading, watching, and listening to right now?
This is going to be very all over the place.
This is always very telling. Yeah.
So I'm reading a book about confidence at the moment. Self-belief. Sorry, it's about self-belief. It's about the science of self-belief.
Excellent.
Which is quite funny that I've talked about that. James R. Doty is the writer. I think it's called Mind Magic.
Lovely.
So
magic. I love the word
I
magic,
know.
so, yeah.
It's just hilarious that that's the book. I'm watching Gossip Girl from the beginning again. I've already watched the entire thing, but I am watching it again.
Fabulous. Yeah.
Because I like to kill some brain cells.
Yeah. I'm with you. Sometimes I just need time out. Yeah.
And what was the last question?
Listening to any music?
Yes, Rainbow Kitten Surprise. Have you heard of them?
No.
Oh, amazing. They're from America.
I mean, what a great name.
I know.
Rainbow Kitten
Surprise. And they're kind of chill but upbeat, and they're doing a tour here soon, so I think I'm going to get tickets. I think everyone should check them out. They're very, once again, underrated, but great vibes.
Amazing. Jo, I've loved our conversation. Thank you for allowing me to grill with you for the last hour and for all that you've shared.
Me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always so interesting when I've had a conversation with someone who has clearly achieved some of the big milestones that we all think about, that we all might measure ourselves against, but how many people can actually say they've got over 90,000 followers, they've done nearly 6 figures in their first year, they're commanding over 5K as a speaker. And yet at every point when we spoke to Jo about her journey, it's all like within the last 12 months to 2 years. But the things that she's done that I think we really all have to take note of is consistency, how she works on her mind and questions herself constantly. But she's also really strategic with the work she does. She isn't someone who just creates content on the fly. She does plan it. And she is a real believer in repeating that message over and over again. And the fact that it's allowing her to have a business where 90% is incoming, I think there's some notes that we can all take from that. Thanks so much for listening to Don't Work Harder. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and share. This show has been brought to you by Atomic, the home of epic business growth. Head to our website at atomic.site to hear more about our business programs and epic events.